so here's me, and we're gonna move along towards the actual presentation. So you are here today because you are interested in understanding the concept around I'm sorry and what to really do when saying I'm sorry is not enough. And the truth of it is, when you're truly, truly sorry, saying I'm sorry is never enough. So that's why you're here today. If you're not here for that, wrong room, but I hope you're all here and excited to kind of learn with me and work with me on why sorry doesn't cut it. All right, let's see who's in the room. Can you guys just put your location and what you're hoping to get out of this presentation today or this workshop today? Just a quick note of where you're from or where you're at right now, and what are you hoping for today? What do you really want me to help answer today? And just stick it in the chat, or you can also come off mute. If you're being a social butterfly today, go ahead and come off mute, come on camera. Tell me, what are you really hoping to learn in this workshop today? Thanks, Rachel. Yeah, thanks, Cassie. Walking the dogs, you still got it in there. Thanks. Yeah, so how do you really repair damaged relationships? How do we resolve conflict? We as human beings tend to want to avoid or walk away from conflict. So how do we do that? Having more tools. What do you do when conflict happens? What do you do when an apology is necessary? Absolutely. Thanks, guys, for giving a few pieces of insight there. April, that's a good one. I talk a lot in my coaching about accountability and how we use accountability to really communicate and be responsible for our words and actions. So absolutely, there's a big piece in here that will be about accountability for both parties. All right, so here's our flow. Ooh, April's from Seattle. I'm from Seattle. I'm there a lot. I'm actually going to go visit my parents not that far from now. I'm going to Vegas and Nashville first, but I'll be visiting my parents again soon. Great to see you, April from Seattle. All right, so here's our flow for the day. Oh, sorry, I just saw a new one in the chat. Yeah, stop the gossip. Oh man, it's so easy to talk behind somebody's back or justify or validate yourself with talking about the conflict and trying to be the right person in the conflict. And man, that really just continues to create the damage. So we're going to try to focus on solutions here, right? And strategies here. If you've been to my workshops before, you absolutely know that I'm always looking to give you guys some strategies that you can apply and try right away. And then I love feedback. So if it worked, great. And if it didn't work, tell me. I want to know why, right? So here's the flow. We're going to talk about the rule of I'm sorry. If you've been to one of my retreats or workshops or any of my weekend events, you've heard the rule of I'm sorry. So you're going to hear it again. It's important to just hear it over and over again if you've already heard it. And then we're going to talk about, well, what if I am really sorry, right? Like what do I do when sorry is actually needed? And then we're going to talk about opportunities for repair. And then we're going to talk about, and P. Thomas, this comes to you. And then we're going to talk about what do you do to keep it going after the repair to build that trust, care, and confidence again. So that's our flow. Any questions on this part? Cool. Feel free to interrupt me because on these virtual workshops, I can't see my audience, right? So if you have a question, there's a little raise hand button down here. You can come on camera. You can put a question in the comments. I'll try to keep checking over there. But I tend to get going, right? And I get all excited about what I'm going to talk about. And so what happens is you might have something you want to say or a question or something you might want to contribute. And I want you in here. We can really learn a lot from each other too. So these conversations and the experiences that you're already sharing in the chat is really helpful because it's going to help other people see your perspective, understand other kinds of experiences and relate to you. And maybe you can learn from each other too. Yes, share. You're giving me a great segue right into the I'm sorry rule. So we have been conditioned, especially women, but not just women, we have been conditioned to always say we're sorry. We say we're sorry for things we're totally not sorry for. And so the I'm sorry rule really acknowledges that we use it in a way that actually devalues the words "I'm sorry" and actually creates a wedge. It creates a space where meaningfulness and connection could have been, but instead you created this really uncomfortable wedge by saying "I'm sorry." So here's what you're really doing when you're saying "I'm sorry." And I've given this example before. I was trying to think of a new example today to give you guys. Is if I interrupt you, and this happened to me last week. I interrupted somebody, and then I thought about it, and I said, "Oh, I'm sorry." I actually wasn't sorry because they've been talking for a really long time. And so I wasn't really sorry. So when we say we're sorry, it's because we have a discomfort. So when I interrupted somebody, it was really to bring the conversation back circle and make sure that there were multiple people in that conversation that were just starting to tune out or be annoyed, or this person was steamrolling, right? So when I interrupted, it was a very strategic reason. But then I felt really embarrassed about it because the person looked uncomfortable and then I was uncomfortable. So I said I was sorry. I wasn't sorry. We say we're sorry for things all the time that we're totally not sorry for. And what we're doing is we're saying, I'm uncomfortable. So I'm going to put that discomfort on you, and I want you to make me feel better. If I bump you on the way into my office, oh, so sorry. I'm not really sorry. I'm just uncomfortable. I am putting my discomfort on you now so that you can say, "Oh, Christine, no problem. It's okay. No worries. Don't worry about it." And that makes me feel better. But what we're doing, and this brings me to the next slide, what we're really doing is we're putting our discomfort and not really knowing how to own ourselves on the other person and asking the other person to fix it for us. And what it's doing is it's taking away from the actual real relationship you could have with that person. And it could be something really simple like bumping into somebody. And it could be something kind of complicated like interrupting somebody. But the truth of it is, both situations, you're taking away from this opportunity to build a meaningful connection with another person. And so here's the typical flow of what happens when we decide, you know what, I'm not saying I'm sorry anymore. I'm not sorry. And then we get into the sorry, not sorry. And the sorry, not sorry drives me crazy because it's what you're doing now is validating yourself and defiantly validating yourself that you're not sorry. And it sounds shitty. Excuse me. It sounds kind of snarky when you're like, sorry, not sorry. Now, the truth of it is, like, I love that we're owning that we're not sorry, right? But you're still creating that wedge. You're just basically saying, I'm not sorry, so what are you going to do about it? And that's not really what we mean either, right? So really what we're trying to do is move away from this sorry, not sorry. And then what happens is it's like, okay, well, I don't want to sound like a jerk because I'm not sorry, not sorry. I'm gonna try to just show gratitude, right? So I'm going to move from sorry, not sorry to gratitude's easier, right? Like, thank you for contributing in this conversation. Thank you for giving your point of view. Thank you for really sharing vulnerably about your perspective in this conversation. Instead of saying, I'm sorry for interrupting you, but right? Or saying, excuse me. Like, so you can move into gratitude, which is like level 2 of not sorry. Or I'm going to challenge you today to go to level 3, next level. What you're going to do is try to make a meaningful connection. You're going to take your discomfort. I didn't put this slide in here, but I always say when you're uncomfortable, the first thing to do is breathe in that discomfort. Ooh, I got to interrupt her. And you're going to communicate out your needs. Hey, Sarah, I'm so glad that you've been sharing your story. I really need to bring this conversation full circle again. Pause. And it gives me a chance to connect with Sarah and not make her feel bad for steamrolling the whole conversation. It also allows me to communicate my needs, but also create a meaningful connection on something that we actually should be talking about. Meaning, I need to interrupt Sarah. She's talking for too long. She's losing the whole crowd. She's taken my agenda off the rails. I need to communicate that out to her but I want a meaningful connection at the end, and I want us both to feel good about it. That's next level, not sorry. Does that make sense? It's hard because we tend to go, well, I'm not sorry. And then we tend to go, oh, thank you for da-da-da-da-da. Thank you for doing the dishes, right? To bring it to meaningful connection is a little tricky. It's challenging to really figure out, what am I really needing to communicate, and how do I communicate in a way that makes us both feel better, closer, and more meaningful about our relationship together at the end. Trisha, say which part one more time. Sorry. The steps. Okay. So typically we go from, oh, sorry for bumping you, right? What I want you to do instead, to make a meaningful connection, you're going to skip defiantly validated. You're going to skip gratitude. Skip it. Those are level 1s and 2s. You guys are going to be level 3 communicators, next level communicators. What you're going to do is you're going to breathe in that discomfort. I have to interrupt Sarah. Right? I don't want to communicate that out, right? So breathe in the discomfort, communicate out your needs. I need to bring this conversation full circle again. And then pause, right? I'm going to pause because that's me asking her to engage. And then she might actually say she's sorry. And oh no, now we're in this whole sorry cycle. And you can say, no, you don't have to segue and teach her the sorry rule. You can do that later. But you can say, no, what I need to do is bring this conversation full circle. Thank you for sharing. I want to ask anybody else in this room, does anybody else have something to contribute that might build on what Sarah said? Because what Sarah said was really good. And now Sarah feels good about what she said. She's not overthinking the fact that she was talking a long time. She's not going to go home and be like, God, I'm so stupid for talking so long, and Christine called me out. She's going to go home and go, wow, Christine really thought I had a good idea. And then she asked other people to build upon it. Cool. So that's the meaningful connection, right? Is I want her to feel, and I actually did put this slide in. I want her to feel loved, validated, and heard, but I still got to communicate out my own needs. And I'm not sorry. But if I just say, sorry, I'm not sorry, but you need to stop talking, it just sounds snarky. And that's like so level 1, right? Level 3, this advanced level communication to be meaningful in your relationships, is creating those meaningful connections with, I think Cassie, you said it, with that intentionality of, I have an end goal in mind whenever I talk with somebody or to someone, and that is, everyone wants to feel loved, validated, and heard. Absolutely everyone. So I need to keep that in mind so I can keep my conversation moving forward, where I don't lose Sarah too, because I've interrupted her, I've made her feel self-conscious, and now she's just going to think about how much she was talking and I didn't give a shit about what she was saying, right? So that's the level 3. That's the next level. Yes. And that's why I say breathe in the discomfort and communicate out your needs, matter of factly. It takes practice, right? Like, it takes a lot of practice to be able to go, what would I say? And that's why I was saying level 1, level 2, level 3, because level 2 is just as good, right? Because, it's not just as good, but it's a good way to move away from I'm sorry. Because gratitude makes someone feel loved, validated, and heard. And it's a way to make it happen. But my point is, it's not quite all the way there, because you're not quite addressing the discomfort, right? There is discomfort. And when we say, I'm sorry, it's putting that discomfort on the other person. When we say thank you, we're diffusing the discomfort. But when I breathe in and then communicate out my needs, I'm actually owning and am accountable for my discomfort. And I'm going to try to create a meaningful connection as a result. Ooh, that's some tough stuff, but it's totally doable. Okay, so that's the I'm sorry rule. How am I doing on time? All right. That's the I'm sorry rule, which has actually nothing to do with sorry doesn't cut it. It's just taking the silly sorries off the table. I got to give you that first, right? Like, silly sorries are not what this workshop is about. Real sorries is what this workshop is about. Okay. And that's what we're going to get to now. Silly sorries off the table. What happens when you truly need to apologize or you need to receive an apology, right? So these are reasons you would have an apology situation. Read through it because I'm going to take a drink of water. The biggest one, and I talk about this in my coaching a lot, excuse me, when I coach, I always start with core values because our core values dictate all of our decision making, all of our perceptions of experiences. Our core values are absolutely the core of who we are, how we think, what we feel, and what we do. So if I have a core value that is not aligned to yours, or you violate a core value, and here's a great example. When I was working in Seattle, I made a comment, because sometimes I talk unfiltered. I made a comment about religion, organized religion. And it was offhand, and I don't believe in organized religion. I'm very spiritual. I have my own spiritual beliefs, but I made a comment that was disrespectful to somebody who truly believes in organized religion. I made a comment offhandedly that I don't like churches, I don't like organized religion, blah, 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 to somebody else. And then this other person overheard me. And she's very religious, loves her church family. Her whole life is really revolving around her church community and her beliefs in that community. And I 100% violated her core value without even realizing it. And there was a huge wedge between us until I realized, oh gosh, I said something in front of her that absolutely disrespected one of her core values. Of course, she's been cold to me. Of course, she's been unhelpful. Of course, she doesn't want to seem to like me, right? So if that's the case, I am in a position where I need to offer an apology and an opportunity for repair, right? So that's a core value, or integrity, right? Where I say I'm going to do something, or I say I'm this way, and then I act a different way. When trust is broken, which has a lot to do with integrity too, but if you break trust, when hurt or anger is involved, so like, and hurt and anger can quickly turn into resentment, right? If you went to my expectations versus agreement workshop, we talked a lot about resentment and hurt and anger and how those are just part of expectations, right? I'm going to try to do that one again, by the way, in the future. I have some better ideas for that one. If you want or need to repair the relationship, so somebody in here was saying that, like, if there's gossiping or there's griping or hysteria or whatever, like whatever the negative characteristic is, if you want to repair the relationship, usually there needs to be some kind of apology situation. And then it's where you know the relationship has to be different moving forward. Like, it's not working for you. That's when apologies come into play. Any questions on this, or anyone want to add anything that I missed, or any thoughts that you have on what is an apology situation? Oh, and then P. Thomas, I was going to tell you, I have a workshop I'm going to do again too, because I think it's a really popular one, on navigating difficult conversations. And I call it the 3-point conversation. And that would be perfect for talking about when somebody's upset and what to do. It's a good one. It's a fun one. I love teaching that one. Okay, some things to keep in mind. Apologies are hard. Apologies are so hard because your ego has to go out the door. You have to be rational, logical, and caring. You can't have any hurt or anger in place. But here's some things to keep in mind. I always say this: you cannot rationalize the irrational. So if somebody is acting irrational, you cannot be in an apology situation. They won't hear you. If somebody is really in the space of that emotional, I should have put that little chart in here too. I have a little Venn diagram of logical brain, emotional brain, and then wise brain. When somebody's in only the emotional space, They cannot process rational decision making. So you cannot rationalize the irrational. I say it all the time. Said it to a friend of mine last night when I had him over for dinner. Okay, you cannot repair from a place of hurt or anger, also resentment, parentheses, right? You have to be able to be calm, caring, loving, ready to make solutions to the problem. Toxicity impacts the ability to repair. If somebody has toxic characteristics, it will impact the effectiveness of your repair. You can only repair if both parties are willing. And this will, I'll bring you to, and there's a slide coming up that I talk about parameters for success. There are parameters for success in our relationships, and we have to recognize those. And you can't ask more of somebody than they are capable of giving, right? And you can ruin a relationship with your words. I know we all know this, but I'm going to say it explicitly. Those intentional words in apology making and opportunities for repair is critical. And you can stop yourself, move backwards, and move forwards again. But once you move forwards, it's real hard to come back if you decide to use some words that aren't going to work for the repair. Pause. Thoughts on this? Also, I love this picture I found.
May I speak? Is that
Yeah. Hi,
Pam? Yeah.
Pam.
It's just too long to type. Sorry. I was giving a ride to a woman who was a new friend. I thought she had issues going on in this car ride. She took control of my whole trip. And I'm like, well, I'm just getting to know her. Let's do this. We drove from Washington to Oregon. I was going to go by myself. She goes, well, I'll go. I'm like, okay. She changed the whole itinerary, the trip. I went, well, maybe it's a good thing. I'm open. On the ride back, I offered to stop at a bird sanctuary, migration sanctuary. I offered to stop along the way, and she's no. So we get up more towards Washington. She goes, pull over. I want you to pull over. I'll buy you lunch. And I'm like, well, I'm not hungry. No, I'll buy you lunch. I'm like, well, that's okay. I know that you're paying a dog sitter. We'll just, call it good. And pull over now. And she's yelling and screaming in my car, pull over now. It was a 5-way turnoff with semi trucks in the JBLM area. The off-ramp was way down the road, and she's screaming, pull over now, you control bitch. I pulled over. She goes, get a Starbucks. I said, where is it? So we find the Starbucks, and I was so done. I followed her in after she had ordered and had a few moments to herself. And I told her, listen, look, I really need to talk to you about this. I'm not a bitch. I just have to know what you need. You weren't telling me what you need. And she's like, never apologized, never got through it. And that was sorry doesn't mean sorry. The next day she texted, moving on. And I'm just like, wow. How do you? And she goes, well, my hip hurts. Well, I have to get out. Well, my back hurts. I told you I had knee surgery and an injury. I'm like, that's what I need from you. Mm-hmm. I need you to tell me what you need. There were no apologies at all.
Pam, someday this is going to be a funny story. Like someday you're going to tell this story and be like, this lady really made a curveball happen in my trip that was supposed to be pleasant and lovely. That drive is always so beautiful. So there's a couple of things that were sticking out in my head when you were talking about that. One is the 3-point conversation probably would have done well in the beginning before the car ride. And also that expectations versus agreements piece, right? Like she had all of these expectations of you and never communicated them out, and you never agreed to them. And then she went all the way into her emotional space and kind of freaked out, right? And then you owned way too much of her freak out. because you're the driver. So you felt all this responsibility. Like, what are you going to do? Leave her at the Starbucks? No, of course not. So you took on more responsibility for that relationship and for her feelings than you should own. That was the third thing I thought of. Then the fourth is, as a perfect segue into this parameters for success. When we meet other people and we build relationships with them, we find what I call the maximum potential of the relationship. And this is what happens. And this happens a lot for women, but my husband also has agonized over friendships this way. So I'm not even going to say it's a sexist thing. It's a sex thing. It's a person thing. When you care deeply about the people that you surround yourself with because you're a caring person and you want deep and meaningful relationships, we tend to question our own beliefs around what is the maximum potential of this relationship, and we ignore red flags. We ignore things that people do, or we try to justify them for them or validate them for them, right? Go ahead, Pam. Oh, you're on mute. And then what happens is we agonize, right? We agonize over why the relationship isn't working. Why is there so much conflict? Why is this person making me feel so bad? Why am I such a bad friend that I didn't know or connect the fact that she had a bad hit and needed to stop and all? No, you maxed out the potential of that relationship before you even got in that car. Like, that's the truth of it. So parameters for success are what I call it. And what it is you have a maximum potential for that relationship to work. And this is where friend falling outs happen. We break up with friends. We have falling outs. And it's usually because I wanted and expected and needed something from that friend that I didn't get, I couldn't get, or they're not capable of right now because they're maybe not evolved enough or responsible enough or accountable enough to be that kind of friend. Or maybe our core values don't match. Or maybe we're just not compatible friends. Or maybe we were compatible friends, but they violated a core value. And now I see we can't be those kinds of friends. Here's why I like parameters for success. Because you don't have to break up with a friend when you realize they maxed out the potential of the friendship. You got to back up. So if the parameters for success, and think about, Pam, like this is a great example that you gave. Think about the last moment you got along. The last moment you thought, it'd be a great idea to take this stranger in my car for several hours down somewhere else that I don't really know. Like there is a parameter for success. And what we did is we asked that friend to be more than they're capable of. So bring it back to the parameters of success. You don't always have to break up with a friend. Now, I am going to back up. I know I'm talking fast, but I am going to back up and say toxicity matters, right? So when I say parameters for success, if somebody is super toxic, that parameter is like here. I might be able to say hi to you at the next birthday party I see you at. And you know what? It's successful. When I say hello, you'll say hello back. For some people, that's not true. There is a person that I fell out with a couple of years ago because she broke some core values. She was super mean and rude, didn't own it, couldn't do the apology cycle with me, and I'm a communication expert, right? I had to bring that parameter of success in. I saw her at a party maybe a year after we fell out. I said hello, and she rolled her eyes and moved on. Okay, I'm not going to own it. I'm not going to own it. That parameter for success now is I will look at you, and if you don't seem welcome in that look, I move on. And I don't hold any responsibility that's not mine. I used to agonize over that, you guys. I used to be like, why did she roll her eyes? Why didn't she say hello? How hard is it to say hi to me? Why? She's the one that made all the mistakes. No, the maximum potential of that relationship was pushed way over the limit. We both felt horrible about it. And I had to just try to bring it back to where can we be successful? Parameters for success. Minerva, how do you find core values? Great question. There is a wonderful, you know what? I'm going to make a note of this right now. there's a really wonderful core values exercise I do that Elena Aguilar, she's a coach. And she has if you're in the education world, she has the Art of Coaching is a fantastic book. And about 15 years ago, I came across this core values exercise in her book, and I literally use it in all of my coaching sessions. I tweak it. So if you really want a core values exercise, like spend some time with me, but I tweak it so it's a little bit more meaningful and a little bit more connected to what I like to teach. But you can easily go online, do a little Google search for list of core values, and then you just narrow it down to your 3. Everybody has about 3 primary ones. And when you hit a certain age, they don't really change. I mean, they can adjust based on your own life circumstances, but they really don't change. When you hit like 26, 27, they're kind of set, right? But feel free to go do it online. Like just go find a core values list and find your 3. Like the ones that, and this is what I say, it's like the ones that absolutely, and I said this in the beginning of our workshop, right? The ones that absolutely like drive your decision making, your perception of the world, and how you feel about your relationships with other people. But I also love doing it. So if you ever want to schedule some time with me, there's some ways to do that. Okay. Yeah, Pam, like great, yeah. But I think the issue is when we get to a certain place of like crisis, creating parameters for success and finding those opportunities for repair are a little harder, but you got to be a little bit more strategic. So you did a good job actually of trying to like help her communicate her own needs and and like diffuse the conflict. And those are all things you can do to try to get the car ride back on track because you weren't there yet, right? So I try to talk about those parameters for success first because I want you to realize there is a maximum potential for that relationship, and you may have hit it. That your core values may be in play, and that the opportunities for repair have to like fit into these parameters for success, right? Like if I'm asking more of you than you can do, then that opportunity for repair is not going to work, right? Okay, so that's this. Now, we're going to practice this, Cassie. So that's why I was like, just hang tight. I got to give you some background knowledge and get us all on the same page first so that you can actually try to do this in a way that's like, you know, successful. All right. Here are the components of developing opportunities for repair that are successful. The first step is, and I didn't put this on here actually, you got to apologize. You have to explicitly say, I am sorry, or I feel ashamed, or I am responsible, or whatever it is. You have to say, I'm sorry. That should be point number 1. Apologies for that. Sorry, not sorry, but I am. I should have put that in here first, right? So say I'm sorry, and it has to come from a place of love, care, and integrity. You can't say it resentfully. You can't say it with the expectation that the other person is going to step up and finally be sorry too. It has to be from an absolute place of giving and hope that this relationship can come back to that parameters for success. Okay. It has, like, the apology and the opportunity for repair have to be directly correlated to the violation. So here's an example. I have a friend who is always late for appointments, late to meeting me, late, and I'm always early. I like being early. I don't like to be stressed. She's always late. But what it does for me is it makes me feel like she does not value my time. She's wasting my time, right? So I can tell her, hey, Jackie, it really bothers me when you're late because it makes me feel like you don't value my time. I'm giving Jackie an opportunity for repair just in that sentence, right? She'll say, oh gosh, Christine, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize that me being late really bothered you that much. You always seem fine. The opportunity for repair comes from what she says next. She can say, you know what? Next Wednesday, I would love to take you out for lunch, and I'm going to be early. I'm going to show you that I care about your time and your feelings, and I want to take you out to lunch, and I want to show you I can be on time. That is an opportunity for repair of making me feel like she doesn't value my time. Does that make sense? There was damage there. I feel like she's not a good friend because she doesn't value my time and is always making me wait around for her, sitting alone at a cafe. It bothers me. And it damages our relationship because to me, it's a core value issue. My core values are integrity, trust, and sense of belonging. I know she's violating my core value. So I'm giving her an opportunity to give an apology and a repair. Most people don't know how to do the repair alongside the apology. My husband never gives the repair. I have to give it to him. He wants to repair, he just doesn't know how, right? So if I say, hey, Josh, you know what? Like, you said you were going to do the dishes after dinner every time I cooked, and you just haven't done that. And he'll say, oh, I'm so sorry. What do you want me to do about it? I hate it when that happens, but it really does make me think about what would repair that feeling. What would repair? And it again comes back to my core values. You said you were going to do something and you didn't do it. So I would like to make dinner tonight and I would like you to do the dishes. Could we do that, please? And then I feel cared for if he does them. Right? So it's directly correlated to the violation of your core values or to the damage of the relationship. If somebody's gossiping about you behind your back and you found out, and you go up to them and you say, hey, I heard this really concerning news today that you're not happy with something about me. Can we talk about it? Super uncomfortable conversation, right? But I can be ready to give an opportunity for repair. You know what, Tammy, the next time that you don't like something that I do, I would much rather you just tell me, because I don't want you to feel shitty about whatever it is. I'm giving her an opportunity to come do it differently next time. Some people won't, and that's when we come back to the parameters for success. Don't expect something from somebody who's not capable of being accountable for their own words and actions, especially if they're toxic. Okay, and then this is the hard one. Sometimes the apology and the repair has to come from the person that should be receiving the apology. Hear me out. In a work situation, I've been a manager, leader, team builder, community organizer, right? There is conflict in the workplace, and there are some people that don't want to do shit about shit when it comes to how they make other people feel. And there was a situation maybe 2 years ago, and this is a great example. There was a situation 2 years ago where these two women were just passive aggressively going at each other. So-and-so would tell so-and-so about something, and then so-and-so would tell so-and-so about something, and then so-and-so would write a passive-aggressive email saying, well, if you read my last email, blah, 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 blah. Like, it was just all this snarky, gnarly, unaccountable, high school BS I can't stand, right? So I went to the woman who was really the instigator. She just wouldn't stop. They both were doing it, but one was instigating. So I went and I used all my strategies, right? I used all the tools, and one of them was willing to be coached in how to have accountable conversations towards opportunities for repair, self-accountability, healthy work environment culture, no more toxic BS. She was willing to be coached on that and accountable. The other one, nopesy-dopesy. Oh man, she was so tough, you guys, like so tough. And her emails would just kill me. They would kill me. But what happened is I love peer pressure and I love the power of majority. The majority of my team started acting accountable, started caring about each other, started having more integrity, knew it wasn't tolerated on my team, and we continued to offer her opportunities for repair, and she continued to fail, and she started to feel really like an outsider, and she chose to leave. That's okay too. Our parameters for success were real clear on my team, and she just would not. But in order to hold her accountable and make any positive change whatsoever, we had to continually be the ones to offer the opportunity for repair. Continually take the higher road, not get in the mud. Do not respond to that email. Right? Sometimes we have to be the one who keeps doing it because it just makes things better. I don't want to be in the cesspool of BS that happens in offices and relationships because we can't keep ourselves together, right? That's what I mean. Sometimes you're going to have to be the one to offer the opportunity for repair, even when you don't feel like it, even when you don't like the person, because it's just the better thing to do. Because if you keep doing what you're doing, it's just going to create toxicity and you're going to feel the toxicity of that. Okay, 15 minutes left. I was like hoping we would have enough of this time to practice. So we're gonna practice. And I love doing things in cycles or processes. Yeah, Rachel, so in order to do a core values exercise, one, you can sign up with me and do a coaching session. I can totally do it with you. And you can get my spice, my vibe of it. Or you can go on Google and you can do a search for a list of core values. And then you're going to just pick your 3 that are non-negotiables. Pick your 3 that like, yep, that's me. I could never be friends with somebody who ruined that core value with me, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. And what I love about core values too is once you start learning that you have them and they operate you operate on your core values, you start recognizing, oh, other people have core values too. And you start realizing when you might have violated somebody else's core value. And then you can come back over here. You can create some opportunities for repair if you violate somebody else's core values. Or you see your core values aren't aligning, there's some space to create an opportunity for repair there too. Okay, time to practice. We have maybe 15 people in here. I'm gonna break you off into some breakout rooms. I learned how to do that the other day. Super cool. And what you're going, so you're gonna have to have something in mind. Like I tried to give you guys some examples, right? I'm sure you have examples coming in. You have somebody that like irritates you, or a friendship that broke, or a fight you had, or a conflict. You have something. So look for something that you know you can chat about, and you don't. I hate role playing, you guys. Like it like brings me the worst anxiety. So do not feel like you have to role play, but if you want to, go for it. Some people love it. Some people are actors in the heart. I'm just not. I just want to talk about things. I'm a verbalizer of my experiences. So you have a choice. You can role play or you can talk about a situation, but here's how it looks, okay? Take a screenshot of this, write it down, whatever you need to do to dig it into your breakout session. You have to think of an egregious offense. That means it's not a sorry, not sorry situation. It's an egregious violation or offense. You have to think about what the apology really would be. What would you say to apologize? Or what would you need or want the other person to say? Think about that parameters for success, right? What are you going to ask of that person in the maximum potential of the relationship? And keeping in mind that you guys have core values that have probably been violated, and what kinds of repairs is that person even capable of? And then you're going to come up with a repair. Come up with a repair that would work to bring you closer together, to build the trust again, to build the care, and to feel good, both parties feel good about moving forward. Okay. Ooh, here we go. All right, so I'm going to break you off for like 5 minutes, a couple minutes to just play around with how to do this, all right? Let's see. Breakout room. Let's do 4 of them. And I'll put you on 5 minutes. Do you think that's enough time? I think 5 is probably good. Okay, ready, go. Sorry, Cassie, your room had nobody in it, so I'm going to put you in a different room. Okay? Sorry. Let's put you here. All right, it's going to pop you out, I think. Save. You're back. How did it go? Thoughts, feedback, questions? Did you get any insights from other people?
Yeah, absolutely.
What can you share? What's a big takeaway from the practice?
Okay, so let me just put my screen on. I guess for me with this whole presentation, it kind of aligns with what I'm going through, and I share it with my group, a friend who felt entitled. So, the one of my group members, we talked a little bit about, leading up to situation, because sometimes you know what you want to say, but then you're so pissed off. It's like, you know what? I am really pissed, and it's like, I just really want to speak my mind, and by that time you've said so much that you can't really take back. And then sometimes I don't know if the relationship can be repaired. In my situation, it was a friend that felt entitled. I did some training for him, and he felt like because he paid me that he can dump all his work on me, and it doesn't work that way. The communication wasn't there when I needed him to be there, and when I brought it to his attention, he kind of felt entitled, and it was the demise of our relationship. So I tried to repair it. Like, sometimes when you're talking through emails, things get lost in translation. He didn't want to hear that. So I said, well, let's meet face to face. So I don't know if he was punishing me. And I'm like, the reverse psychology is not working here. So I reached back out to him this year, and it feels like the relationship is not repairable. So,
Yeah, and that's a hard one to acknowledge, right? And that's why I like to think about it like in this kind of full scope framework of what are the parameters for success,
Mhm.
and is the other person capable and willing to try to repair, right? Like is there a space of success that friendship can thrive in? And if so, could we get back there? And in some cases, the answer is no. And I used to agonize over that a lot. Like, why? If I'm so good at communication, I'm so good at this conflict resolution, why can I not find a way to be successfully friends with this person? And the truth of it is, the two people have to be willing to come to the table and find that parameter for success and be open to the repair. And that's like, I wish I would have put the slide in here where I talk about the rational, logical brain, the emotional brain, and then the wise brain, right? When you want to spout off and tell somebody what you feel, it's damaging, right? Because you're not speaking from a place of wisdom. You're speaking from a place of feelings.
Right.
And they're negative feelings. The negative feelings are going to create negative situations. So if I can get to a space where I can process my feelings logically and feel them, but like then process them, like, what does that mean? What do I do? Then I can come to a place and say, well, I can talk about my feelings in a way that could be solution oriented, or with that love, care, and compassion, right? Like, I need to talk from a place where I know I can make you feel loved, validated, and heard. Ooh, that's tough sometimes. Right? Because he violated a lot of your core values and a lot of what you believe is a good friendship or a good working partnership, even, right? If you can't come to him in a space of loving him, validating him, and hearing him, then you can't create that repair either. That's the tough part. Recognizing that in yourself is the tough part too.
Okay, well, that's good to know. But I left out one piece of information. When he got ready to pay me and I pulled up to the location, I just grabbed my money and left because I was so pissed off. Like,
Yeah.
it took weeks to communicate with you. How dare you just, monopolize off my time? And then, it's like this one-sided relationship and stuff, like, whoa. And then I thought about it, and I was like, okay, maybe I overreacted, but I didn't think so, because business is business. But I tried to come back to a space where I can communicate how I felt, with the whole thing. And it's just one of those things. It's kind of crazy. So,
well, and the truth of it is, look, I say this about all the workshops I do. You have to decide if this is a strategy that works for that situation. The truth of it is, that one might be done. It might be done. And we agonize over whether it's done or not. If it's done, it's done. Right? If it's done, it's done. And that's okay. Like, that's okay. You have to decide, is it worth it? Is there some space for success possible? Is there potential for success here? And if so, do I want to offer an opportunity for repair?
okay.
And then do I want to come up with one that I think he could be successful in? But to me, it sounds like right now, that relationship in particular, maybe not. I don't know.
Right.
But we tend to agonize over that. Don't. If it's not a good opportunity for repair, just wipe your hands for now. It's okay. It's okay to not get along with everybody all the time. And conflict existing is okay. If it's threatening you, then we need to talk about it. But you've got to recognize too, when we're in that anxiety space of conflict, it's because we feel threatened. we feel afraid of hurt, afraid of ... So recognize that too. You can have conflict with somebody and you're not threatened. You're safe. You're okay.
Okay. Okay. Thank you so much for that.
Yeah. Anything else before anybody else want to share? I know we're coming up on an hour. Oh, I heard somebody. Sorry, I cut you off. I hope you all got something that was really helpful today. I really love feedback. So if you can put in the chat, just give me 2 seconds of your time. Tell me what was your big takeaway from today? What was the big value? Or tell me I wasted your time. Whatever you want to say, just give me some feedback. Did you like it? Did you not like it? What was your big takeaway from today? And then while you're doing that, I'm actually just going to throw some stuff in here. This is part of my Navigating Difficult Conversations deep dive that I do, coaching cycles that I do with people. If you are interested in doing a 4-week deep dive on navigating difficult conversations, which includes a 3-point conversation, apologies and opportunities for repair, and you want to like really dive into that, like personally with your situations and learning some strategies, there's you can go on the website and you can sign up. Also, there's a 6-week deep dive I'm doing on building meaningful goals and how to achieve them. A lot of times, if you pick up a life coach, personal coach, work coach, professional coach, a lot of times they don't give you actual goals that you can work with and meaningful goals. So for me, I love to teach how do you create measurable, meaningful goals in your personal and professional life for you as a whole person. So there's this one. Just go on the website, you can find it. Also, you can enter to win a 2023 adventure with us. So if you would like to enter to win, where did the link go? Let me see if I can click on it and then it'll give it to me and I can give it to you. If you would like to enter to win one of our adventures for 2023, there you go. There's no strings attached. You could just go in and hope you win. So there's that. And then my next free virtual workshop is routines and rituals and how they impact how we feel, the difference between a routine and a ritual, and how they make us feel in our daily lives. That's on Tuesday, March 7th, and I will give you the link to register. If you want to be proactive and calendar-driven like I am, then you can sign up right now. Again, if I didn't get your, I'm going to stop recording. If I didn't get your email, meaning if you signed up on Meetup, it went weird and I couldn't get